Welcome to our last class in our inspirational Disney series. This one is themed to Up, but I think you should be able to use it for any kind of adventure, especially any kind of Disney adventure. We could change the characters a little bit on the left side of the spread, and it's great for any sort of adventure. For this one specifically, when it comes to the inspiration, and I've gone through all of the ways that I find inspiration when I get ready to prepare a design. For this one, it's from the movie Up, obviously. So if you type in Up, Disney Up, there's not a lot out there as far as pre-designed pages or such out on Pinterest to find a lot of inspiration. So for this one specifically, there was a sticker on Etsy. And I thought that was such an adorable sticker. I loved how they did the title and the balloons and the banner. And I thought, well, why couldn't we just recreate that sticker in die cut form, blow it up, and make that the focus of one of the pages for the spread? So that's exactly what we have done with this. So you will find there's not a lot of trips, or there's not a lot of tips or tricks. How about that? For this spread, really what you see is kind of what you get. But with this, it's the color and the dimension that really is going to bring this page to life. So the biggest thing here is going to be that really large house and balloon die cut. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and cut the barcode strip off that background sheet there. So we've used a background pattern that's really pretty busy. So to think that we are going to put a large set of balloons on this pattern, you would think wouldn't necessarily work so well. So that's why we've kind of added this yellow. It's kind of my traditional thing. So if we've got a busy pattern, we put a solid pattern, a solid color on top. That way it kind of gives your eye a break. So that creates a great buffer between that background pattern paper and that large, beautiful die cut that we're going to put together for the top. So we have that polka dot paper as the background. And then we are going to adhere our yellow shimmer piece. And we could have obviously just cut this as a square. But to go with the flow of it. So obviously it's supposed to look like this house has been lifted up off its foundation and flying through the sky. So I wanted to create that movement that the curvature of this square does. So instead of going with those harsh edges, I wanted something that was a little more flowing. So in your packet, you have that blue cardstock that will serve for your photo mats. That way you can cut them at any size that you would like. But everything for this page is all about this die cut. So we are going to take some time here and put all of this die cut together. So if you pull out our title, and I'm going to go ahead and move this aside. We don't want to get any adhesive on our paper there. All right, so we need to adhere together the two layers of our adventure title. No inking or anything on this one. I wanted that really thick border for our word adventure, almost as if our word adventure was written in a cloud. So the whole purpose was to kind of mimic, when you see images of a plane and they've like in their fumes, you'd see a cloud of the word love or something. It was kind of meant to mimic like our word adventure was being written in the clouds. So I'm going to leave that stark white. All right, so we're going to put that aside now. And then the next thing, we're going to go ahead and finish out that title. These are all individual letters. So just be conscious of that as you're pulling everything out of the bag. All right, so for this banner here, we are going to do some inking. Now, if you have some navy would work perfectly. I just kind of went rogue here, and I'm going to use our blackberry cobbler. And I'm just going to ink just along the edge, just a little along the bottom, and then again on this edge. And that's all I'm going to do there. But you'll see what a difference that makes when we go to adhere all three of those layers together. We really want this to look like it's dimensional. All right, I'm going to use my dry adhesive and adhere the layers together. And then one more here. Oops. All right. So see, by just adding just that little touch there, how it really makes that look like that top layer is really forward and the little ends of our ribbon or our banner are pushed backwards just by that little hint of color there. All right, so we're going to pull out all of these little individual letters, and then I'm going to lay them out to make sure that we have our spacing correct. And then we'll go start putting them all down. All right, if you're brave, go ahead and just start gluing them down one by one. I just want to make sure it's all going to fit. So you can kind of see with this one again, it comes together pretty easily. And it's a page, though, when you look at it, when it's all said and done, by no means does it look simple or easy. It really looks, masterfully created. And really what we have done is just taken the idea of a sticker and enlarged it to make it the focus of our page. I'm going to space these just a little. So it probably won't surprise you that when I go to the grocery store or somewhere like that, I love going through the party supply and the card section because they have beautiful designs, right? So I have a pile of cards that I didn't buy because I wanted to give to someone because I wanted to recreate them out of paper and make them a page kit. All right, so for me, I always find it easier. I'm just going to put a little pile of glue and then I'm going to dip my letters into it. That way I don't have to add my glue one by one. And to me, this just saves a little time. So again, back to what I was saying about the cards. Just, anytime you're at the supermarket or, at a party store, just take the time just to kind of rummage through the cards or, the little sticker packs. I always find fun inspiration from things like that. All right. So how many of you have seen the movie Up? And how many of you cried and were surprised when you very first saw the beginning of that movie? It's so incredibly emotional, isn't it? Disney is such a master at taking their cartoons and really developing the characters and the scenery in such a way that it's like watching a live action movie and you really become a part of the characters just as you would a live movie. I know when I first saw Carl's wife in the hospital, it just really is amazing the emotion they can pull out of you, and it's a cartoon. But really, we can do the same thing, right? How emotional do we get when we look back through these photos? So we're creating these pages that's going to serve as the artwork for all of these memories. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do the balloons. And then we'll go do the house. We are going to add some dimension to our house. So I'll save that to last. But for now, let's go ahead and pull out all of these balloons. This is super easy to, this die was super easy to create. So you don't have to have, you know, when you go, when you see the inspiration, like I saw this sticker, this doesn't have to be the exact up house. So you could just take, you know, a bundle of balloons, a generic balloons that you see in Design Space or in your cutting cartridges or however you use your die cutting machines, and then just put a house underneath it. Again, just any generic house that would come with your die cutting system. And it's going to give you the same idea here. All right, now when it comes to inking, a lot of the balloons are going to get covered up, and really there's no exact rhyme or reason. However, you want to lay the balloons onto this base here. They're all the exact same. The only thing that's different is their color. So you're welcome to put them in any order that you want to put them. So if you want to accent a different color at the top, go for it. The only thing I did with the inking here is the balloons that I put at the very top. So for me, it was the yellow. Let me move these so that makes sense here. The yellow, the orange, the purple, and the green. So those four there are the only 4 balloons that I inked. And that was purely because those really are the only ones that you're going to see the majority of. So whatever 4 balloons you put up here, if you are an inker, go ahead and ink those as you'd like. So if your 4 are different, obviously the inks that you need and going to use are going to be a little different than the ones that I'm using. Rule of thumb, as always, go a couple shades darker with your ink pad than the color of your paper. So if you look here at the difference, it might be hard with the bright lights that's on them, but our ink pad is just a couple shades darker than the yellow of our paper. And I am just going to go along the top edge there, and I'm going to repeat that with the next 3. So with the orange, let's do the barn board. If you had a brand new mango Mai Tai, that would work as well. Again, just kind of lightly going around that top edge there. Now for the purple here is a little dark, so I'm going to go a little softer touch with this one. They have since brought back some discontinued purples. So if you have one that's a tad lighter, that works as well. So I just made sure I just was a little lighter handed with that purple. And then our green here. And actually with this green, palm tree is your friend when it comes to mint julep. But for this, I went Baja Blue. Why not? See, isn't that fun how a color that you wouldn't necessarily think to ink works? You never know until you try, right? That is my big thing always with my classes. I always want you to try something new. If you try it and you don't like it, it's okay. You never have to do it again. But you know that you've tried it and you know if it's for you or not. You know, it's the same way when you're a little kid and mom's making broccoli for dinner. As long as you eat one bite, you can still leave the table or still have dessert. All right. Again, there is no exact way that all of these balloons get adhered. It's totally up to you which order that you want to put your balloons. We're just going to follow, though, that outline. So all of our balloons are the same size. The only thing that changes is the color. All right. So I think what I'm going to do to really make this easy is I'm going to flip all of these over so that the texture side is down. Don't they look like Easter eggs when you do that? And then I'm just going to run my adhesive on all of them. And that way, all we have to do is flip them over and stick, right? Flip them over and stick. Life and time is precious. If you've been following this all day today, we've had, 6 hours of classes all day today. So because of that, I made sure that I saved the easy one for last. So by the time that your mind is done, this is kind of one of those that you can kind of just leisurely put together. There's no crazy techniques that I typically love to do. It's just one of these that we're just methodically kind of putting everything together. You know, as Bob Ross would say, we're just painting little happy clouds with this one. Super easy. No stress with this one. Don't worry about what color is going where. It's a pile of balloons. So we are just going to randomly put them together. See? Voila. All right, so then I'm going to set that aside, and we do have our clouds, and I'm going to give them just a little touch here with my Babbling Brook, just so we could add an extra little layer to these clouds. If your Babbling Brook is a new one and it's really, really wet, and the difference is too stark there with that ink, you could always, once this dries, go over it with your coconut, and that coconut will really, really help soften that. Or instead of using your Quick Quotes inks, if you followed along before and seen the watercolor technique that we've done with the Nuvo glitter markers, I especially love that technique on a cloud. So you can turn your Nuvo glitter markers into a watercolor. We could paint some swirls onto this white and it would just be stunning. But again, this is the last class of a 6-hour day. So we wanted to make sure this was as easy as could be without affecting the quality of design. So again, here we are nearly on our last step of this page. But if you look at the final design, it's just completely stunning, the amount of detail without so much fuss. All right. For my house, this is totally personal preference, but I really like to make it look like it's different layers here. So what I have done is I have used my pop dots, my 3D. See if I can move this up just a little. So I've used my 3D foam to adhere the little door, our A-frame, our chimney, and our little alcove here. So this, and this, I have used 3D foam to adhere those pieces, just to kind of make that image just a little more substantial and not just flat. And I am going to ink all of these pieces as well. I just noticed there's a black layer. I don't think you need the black layer. Bonus. All right. So if you have a palm tree, you're welcome to ink your mint julep with palm tree. That's always a great match. I'm going with that Baja blue. Little rogue. And I'm going to go ahead. This is our cartoon house and our cartoon colors. So I am going to go ahead and ink all around the edges. Isn't that funny? The lights get so hot in this room that it dries my glue so quickly. All right. I always say with our puzzle piece, if you're putting a puzzle, what do? You start with the outer edges, right? The ones that make the most sense of where they're going to be placed. So same thing here. So with our pink, I went with the strawberry milkshake. Again, we're going about 2 shades darker with the ink pad than we are the paper itself. And I'm just going to go ahead and go all the way around the edges. And then we're going to adhere that in the lower left corner of our little house. All right, so for the little door, now I did ink it as well. So I'm just gonna give it a little touch here with our mahogany. And then I'm going to use the 3D foam. Now the little squares of 3D foam are really perfect for something like this. When I do the shakers, I prefer to use the roll, but if you have just, the little packets, it's going to work perfect for this as well. I have my roll out from the earlier class, so we're going to go with it. If you're interested, we do sell the rolls of foam now on our website. So we have 2 different sizes, 2 different versions. The Tim Holtz version is going to be a little bit of a smaller roll. And then we have a jumbo reel, and the jumbo reel is about 2, maybe even 3 times the size of this one. So it's what this would have been when it started out. So if you're one that likes to pop a lot, definitely go with the bigger one. All right, adding our little door there. All right, that's going to fit in our little puzzle piece just like so. I didn't ink this one. No true reason why. I just thought this one looked best without any ink at all. But I am going to come in and ink our yellow. Now you'll notice on our final sample here that you don't see the top too much of that yellow. So I am just going to take my ink pad along the base of that piece. And give that a bit of ink, and we're going to adhere that in place. All right, so our roof is that bluish color. Yep, so that's gonna fit in there like so. I didn't put any ink on this, but you're welcome to. Just because I do it one way doesn't mean you have to do it my way. Okay, the other side of our roof, I did give it just a hint. And let's do that with maybe Aloha here. Now I'm going to be a bit heavy-handed. Mine is about done. But you know, I have to say, I haven't replaced my ink pads this year. And obviously I am doing this 7 days a week, all year long. So it's really a testament to how amazing those inks are. The same with the markers. I am just amazed at how long those markers have lasted for me. All right, for our little A-frame here, again, I did want to bring that a little bit off of our roof line. So I'm going to cut a strip of our foam. So if I go and measure, then I can make those pieces as thin as I need them to be. And one more down the other side there. All right, I'm going to cut that just a hair so we're not hanging off the edge. We'll give this a little pull. And we'll add this to our roof line here. See what a difference it makes? Just really adds just a little bit of extra, just an extra layer there. Makes a little bit of a difference. All right, so we have our chimney. And I'm going to ink the base of our chimney here with our mahogany. So a deeper shade of that brown. And I am going to go back with my 3D foam so we can give that chimney a little pop. All right. And the last thing we have left is that little alcove there. I'm going to give this a hint, a little shadow of our desert sun. This one is a little more tricky here with our separate layers. So what I did was added the pop dots just to the yellow, and I cheated and didn't want to go so skinny. Again, it's your page. Be as fussy about it as you'd like, but I'm going to add my 3D foam to the back of my yellow. Cut a really thin strip here. All right, super tiny, isn't it? Isn't it funny that I always use huge scissors too? I've never been able to use the really little tiny scissors. I have no idea why. I realize that it makes sense that they would be more efficient for these tiny little areas. It's not what works for me. And you got to do what works for you. All right. Cute. All right, so you could technically add your little 3D foam on the back of that. I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to add that just like that. All right. Isn't it amazing? I mean, it's really such a simple die cut, but by adding the dimension of the foam and the little bit of shading, how it really brings that kind of cartoon house a lot more to life there. So easy peasy, right? So all we're going to do now is just adhere everything together. So I am just going to start layering things here to make sure it all kind of fits. Now we have our 3 balloons. It honestly doesn't matter which balloon you're going to put where. So just pick one of them. And we do have one that's going to go underneath the chimney here. I might go over just a little. I think that'll work, and then I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere my house down. We are doing that just at a little bit of an angle. All right, so for this, I'm going to be a little more, a little more conscious just to make sure all of those balloons and everything fit on our page. Isn't that just so stinking cute? Cute, cute. All right, so we do have a balloon that's going to go up in the top corner. Okay. And our last balloon, I'm going to have it peek in here over to the side. I'm only going to put adhesive on the left side there. Well, I did it backwards. I only want it on the left side, so I'm going to rub this off because later on I might want to slip a photo underneath. So I want to make sure that I leave the right side unadhered. So let's slip that and put that, we'll stay there. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere. Now our balloons are going to cover that because this is one of those things that's kind of hard to add your adhesive to, but don't worry, your balloons are going to cover a lot of that, and that's going to help stick that down. I'm going to give it just a little bit so that it doesn't move in the meantime. And then add our balloons. So cherry. It's just so bright. I love it. All right, now we need to add our adventure is out there. So this might change a little too. Say you don't have specific photos for up. So we still have one side to go on this page, and that has the characters on it. So if you're not going to necessarily use it for those characters, I would leave those characters off. I would take your adventures out there and maybe fill it in on the next page here, and you could leave this just like this, and that way you could add some photos on this side. And then you could have these that you could pull over to fill in the space on the next page. So that's just something that you could do if you don't have those exact photos. All right. I'm going to move this around just a little. All right. The only thing we have left to go now is our balloons. Now, everybody's balloons are going to be a little different. So you might not have the exact same balloons as the sample. It's all okay. And there was a time that these balloons were one of those that was kind of stuck on a boat out in the ocean somewhere. So we've been doing this class for several months now. So we've had to kind of substitute along the way. So some have the original, some have a substitution. Again, this is your chance then to be creative. And all of those balloons should work just fine with all of this. I'm going to tuck these strings under. All right. If you don't want, if you have these specific stickers and don't want them to be so lumpy, you can pull apart. They use several layers of foam in these stickers. You're welcome just to take off that base layer or take off one of the layers in between, and that's way it's not so thick as well. You could take them all out if you preferred that it's completely flat. All right. There we go. Hopefully that was a relaxing. You feel like you're floating in the clouds with all of our balloons here. All right, one last page to go today. All right, let's wrap up our spread here. And again, just like our first side, this is one of those that's really just going to be a little bit meditative as we're putting it together, as there's no real little tricks to it at all. Just wanted to end this series on a really relaxing note. It's always funny to me how stressful, not stressful is the wrong word, how tiring it could be when you scrap all day long, right? When you go like to a convention or when you're going to a weekend away scrapbooking. Using that much creative energy is exhausting. So if you feel that way, it's very natural, trust me. All right. So just like the first page, we're going to start out with that really fun multicolored polka dot page. So if you haven't done so, go ahead and cut off that barcode strip. As I always say, if you love the paper, save the barcode strip. That way you know exactly what that paper is. Tape it onto the back or put it in a stash in case you want to order an extra sheet or so at some future point. All right, so here we have our circles and our title, and to put our title directly on this multicolored paper, it was a little bit difficult to see. So I wanted to stay in this color scheme, and I wanted it to still look like the clouds and the sky. So therefore, that's why we went with that light blue and white striped paper. So you have a full sheet of it here. You will have a bit extra. That way you can do something extra with it, create another coordinating page, whatever works. We do need to cut it down. We're going to cut that down to 8 inches. So the piece will be 8 by 12. Let's stick this in my trimmer here. And that's 8 by 12. And when we adhere it, it's just going to be flush to that outer edge there. All right, flush to that outer edge. All right, just going to totally run that on the back side. And we're going to adhere it flush to that right edge. All right. Now, just like the first page, you have that full sheet of darker blue paper to go ahead and cut your photo mats. We're going to leave that step. That way you can do that at any time. And as I was saying earlier, if you save that title from the other page, maybe if you just want to use the circles and not necessarily the characters, we could use that adventure awaits, play the day away. We could put all of those together on this side or the bottom of this page. If you didn't want to necessarily use those characters and make it the up themed. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to put those characters together. So in our little baggie here, let's pull out our little doggy. And our little doggy does have some eyes. Let's see if I can find them in here. Better play the day away. And I see Russell's eyes. I see a tongue. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull him out, and then we'll just go ahead and get that started. All right, so for his base layer, we do have that circle there. If you want, you could ink the edges of that. I'm just going to hit him a little with that strawberry milkshake. It would be okay just to leave these blank as well. But even if you aren't going to use these characters, you could go ahead and use these circles. Maybe cut your photos in a circular shape and add these as photo mats. Or if you were using this for a certain vacation, you could, cut out little pieces of the map and put inside of here, or if you had certain embellishments that were specific to your travels, could go there. There's all sorts of ways that you can alter this and make it work. All right, so the white is the base layer there, and then we're going to adhere the black layer, and then that lighter tan. I'm just going to run my adhesive here. All right, wouldn't we all love to have one of these dog collars like he had so that we could hear his thoughts and what our pets are really thinking? I'm 100% positive mine is always thinking more tension, more tension, more tension. I'm going to give this light tan a little bit of an ink here too. I used the tiramisu. It's going to go around his ears. Like so. My husband has a good friend who is a school teacher getting ready to retire, has been a school teacher over 2 decades at this point, well over 2 decades, maybe 3, maybe even 4 decades at this point. But anyway, they always do some kind of costume, fun kind of spirit day, and he dresses as the grumpy old man from Up. It's so hysterical. How many of us know like a legit Carl, right? That legit grumpy old man. That's such a fun character that they added. All right. So for his tongue there, I went back to that strawberry milkshake. Give that just a little bit of a shade. And we're going to add our tongue to the bottom there. All right, and then we have our darker layers of brown. So I'm going to go a little bit darker with my shading. So I'm using the mahogany for his color there. And then I'm just going to highlight just the top of his nose. And for the nose, I did use some of the 3D foam to kind of pop off his nose. His collar, I just have flat. All right. But I am going to add just a little bit of foam here. Have that leftover piece from our first page. just to add a little dimension there. All right, and I know somewhere we have eyes because we just saw one a minute ago. There's one. So we'll go ahead and adhere one. And then we'll see where that other one went. All right, so once we get our little puppers all done there, let's go ahead and go over to this character here. Ah, see? There it is. Yay. All right, we don't want him to look cross-eyed. All right, perfect. All right, and since I inked that pink one, I'm gonna go ahead and ink the light blue one as well. I'm gonna use Aloha. Again, you wouldn't necessarily have to ink these if you are using the characters here. You don't see a lot of the circle. And I'm going to use my dry adhesive here. All right, so now to put together Russell. He has surprisingly more pieces than you would think. So we're going to make sure we have them all lined up correctly here. All right, so white is the base layer, and then we're going to add our black. So if you did our Donald class today, our pool party with Donald, and we did that really fun star border, this is kind of that same effect where we're using a lot of layers and working with the negative space to create the desired effect. And then we're going to add that cream layer. When we slip them into your baggies, we try to slip them in order to kind of make it easier for you when you're putting it together. But I realize that all of that stuff can easily shift as it's making its way across the United States and making its way through another set of hands that's being opened. But we do try to kind of put the layers together appropriately. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add his eyes. So we'll know the difference between Russell and Doug's eyes by their size. So our boys are just a little bit bigger and our puppies were a little bit smaller. All right, coming along. So let's go ahead and do our yellow piece here. So the yellow is his hat that's going to glow clear at the top. And then I am going to give just a little bit of a highlight here to our orange. So with our orange pieces, I did use the barn board. Along the top of that piece and along the bottom of this piece. All right, so we'll add our orange layer to our hat. And you'll know where it goes. It's going to go right along the base of that yellow layer. Doesn't look like anything yet, but it will. Once we get his hair on, it will all come together. And this is his little shirt. All right, now we do have 2 layers to his hair. We're going to put the gray one first. I do realize he's not an old man, he's a young kid, so why did we use gray? His hair obviously is black, and we wanted to give it a little bit of a highlight. And it's a little harder to do when you're using the black paper. So we created the exact same shape as the black layer in obviously a dark gray, so that when we offset them, it will look like a little bit of a highlight to his hair rather than just doing the one layer or trying to ink that layer or using markers on it. And then they're barely going to offset each other. There you go. Now he looks legit. All right, we have just a couple more pieces to put together here. Don't you love it when they're nice and easy here? All right. For this one, now when I designed this, palm tree was discontinued. So I didn't ink these because the Fields of Green was just a little too dark, I thought. I liked the lighter pastel image that we have, so I didn't use that. But if you have palm tree, you could go ahead and ink this green as well. I'm not going to. That way it's following the directions as they were originally written here. And then we have our last circle here. All right. We do want to ink our clouds just like we did on the first page. So let's go ahead and pull out all of those clouds. All righty. Again, using that Babbling Brook. And again here. All right, and if you remember how we did our adventure where we wanted it to make it look like it was written in the clouds, we're going to mimic that exact same thing with our way. So it would definitely work if you wanted to put that entire phrase together and say, adventure awaits, play the day away. Would all work so fun all together. This title was taken from a baby page I saw when I was, flipping through Pinterest and getting some ideas. This particular phrase was on a baby page, but I was thinking, why do only babies play the day away? I mean, we obviously know that they, at that age, their only care in the world is their next meal and when to take a nap. But as adults, it's important to play the day away as well. And hopefully you've been playing the day away with us as we have been putting together so many Disney pages today. All right, the last thing I'm going to do, and then I'm going to put this page all together, is you'll notice here that I have the day on that banner. Now that banner isn't a die cut. So if you're looking in your baggie and you're thinking that that blue banner isn't included in your packet, we've actually given you an entire sheet of that blue. So you're going to have a ton of extra. And then I'm just going to cut that banner. That way you can cut it to fit any kind of dimension you need. So any kind of length or width, whatever's going to work best with your photos. For mine, I cut it 1 by 7. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that down to 1 inch by 7 inch. And then I like to add that little snippet there. All right. So we do have some words that's going to go on top of that banner, but I'm going to put everything into place and then I'll add the words. That way I know exactly where they're going to go. So this one, you really could have room for a lot of photos. Again, if you're not using the characters, you could leave them off and we could really take these circles and kind of bring them all together to put an entire title scrunched together to give you more room for your photos. I feel like this one specifically is really versatile. Lots of things we can do. So since I'm going to mimic it exactly, if you notice, I only ran my adhesive down one side. So that way, if we were to add a photo, this would give me the option later to be able to slip something underneath. And there's enough adhesive on there that it's not going to go anywhere. All right. See how quickly this one is coming together. All right. Let's add our happy little cloud. And then I'm going to add my word play, and then I'm going to go back and kind of fill in with our rest of our title in there. All right. Okay, now we have all of the individual letters for the day. And so I'm going to go ahead and put them in their place. Do you notice now when you get our kits how big this baggie is now? I remember when we started, we would be able to fit all of the die cuts in such a small baggie. Sometimes we would just have one baggie of die cuts for 2 pages, 15 years ago. And the technology with the die cutting systems has come such an amazing distance in the years that truly it's helped my creative flow just amazingly, because now anything I can dream, we could mass produce. All right, so as before, I'm going to do my little puddle of glue there. That way I can dip my letter into it and then put it into place. That way I don't have to take the time to add the adhesive every single time out of the bottle. All right, and hopefully you saw in some of our videos the announcement that we are going to go back to Florida in February, and we are going to play an entire weekend away at the end of February. You definitely need to make plans to join us. The energy at the in-person crops that we host is truly unbeatable. There's so much creativity in that room. People are happy to be there and they're sharing their thoughts and their supplies and their ideas. We do so many fun games. We have special videos that we can show at the in-person events that we can't show online. Because of various, we use little snippets of movies and that sort of thing. It's truly, really, if you love our virtual events, you will just be enamored with our in-person events. Alrighty, we're gonna give Russell his own little circle here. And I'm not gonna push that down entirely because this darker blue circle is gonna go at the top. All right, add our Russell. He's pretty thick, so I didn't add the pot dots to him. With all of his layers, there's a lot going on. But that is, as always, totally up to your preference. I did forget to ink one of the clouds here. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. All right, while I'm at it, I'm going to flip all of these over. We're going to layer our adhesive all at once. I hear it. We're almost to the end of my gun. Means it's about time to call it quits for the day, right? All right. I mean, as you can tell, I am not measuring. I am just like free forming. Wherever it feels right is kind of where I'm putting everything together. Don't ever hesitate to have some spreads that you do that with. Now, I say that I am a perfectionist. You know, I always place things in a certain area for a reason. There's usually why, because of how the flow works. But every once in a while, it's nice not to be so meticulous and just kind of let it transform and come together however it may. All right, all we have left now are our balloons. So again, don't forget your balloons might be a little different than the sample. They might be a little different than the first page, but everything is going to coordinate together just fine. And if you don't want them to be so thick, just pop out some of those layers like this. You know, they have 3 different layers there of the foam, so they are pretty thick. But you could easily take out 1 or 2 of those layers. And there we go. We did it. 6 continuous hours of Disney scrapbooking today. Give yourself a pat on the back. What a fun day this has been. I am a Disney fanatic, and I love that this gets to be my job. Thank you so much for participating with us today. I hope to see you at our in-person event where the magic really is in Orlando, Florida. And as always, happy scrapping.